I'm gonna do a film chat. It's gonna be based on films and cinema this week. This week I got to go and check out quite a few films. First film that I um, checked out and enjoyed a lot was the Backrooms. Now, going into that, I only had prior knowledge from what I thought I knew, but not everything that I did. Like in reality, it was possibly much different than what I thought I knew. I thought it was based on just YouTube lore, but they had a way of bringing it into like a cinematic universe, like reality for itself. And I'm not certain that it really defined like what the lore online was about. I am not someone in the last 10, 15 years that participated in a lot of like YouTube, internet, online lore. Um, so I don't have a lot of experience or history with that, but I do have like an amalgamation of what I assume and what I know from conversations. But as for me, going and participating in that lore, I had not done that. So I only had a skewed perception of what this may be. What I thought it was kind of like the movie Us, about that family that goes to that theme park and basically encounters this parallel universe in which one of the characters basically is swapped out for like a interdimensional doppelganger. That world that dimension, that interdimension, that doppelganger came from, is kind of like this dimension that I thought that the Backrooms existed in. For my assumption of what the Backrooms was like maybe a space in between dimensions, where all sorts of odd things existed. It was horror based, and then I knew that it looked like an office or lobby, but and that it had a million rooms, but and that all odd things could exist in those rooms and such. But that maybe each different room might have been a different world or hell or whatever. It all seems kind of like a lobby for hell or like a crossroads, and then each room is some sort of hellish room or something. But this is all just anticipation based on limited facts. So I did not have a great perspective as to what I would be viewing or watching or participating in. But I did go and watch and get to feel this out first person. And for the longest time, there were these tales of multiple characters. And I guess for the longest time in the film, I was wondering how they would intermingle. And then, and then they had intermingled before I even realized, hey, oh, that's that character from this other story. So, the splash, like, into each other's lives was quite subtle. We got to see the female character. Her portions of it were very, very hard to catch on to because she was kind of like a supporting character until she became more of like a main character. But the main character, which in films they call the protagonist, Um, but the protagonist in this story, we were watching him and his life and how things in his life affected his behaviors and things like that, and and what these behaviors were ultimately building up to or leading to as they're like story building and world building in this new environment, this unknown environment, right? So how going from this separated lore videos online, how it formulates a solid cinematic universe in a singular film. Um, but they did do it, and they did do it well. Um, in another video recently, the Masters of the Universe film chat that I was going over how storytelling to me and in the current cinematic universe that we're in, post all of the films that we have seen and all of the massive explosions that have happened in filmmaking, but now we're just in this like subtle kind of decay of what film used to be, um, and how they're building back up to become this like massive powerhouse. Um, which in this quarter they seem to be really that engine seems to be going well, but yeah, just how they were going to use story-driven characters to build this story out. But it did. It connected. It connected in odd ways. It connected in these very fantastical horror ways. It seemed to follow a very familiar Smile movie sort of path, which those paths are pretty new. They are familiar. They're very deep rooted, psychologically based horror. They have a way of lulling you into something, and then it's kind of like you get into deep waters before you know you're in deep water, but and then you can't really back out. But they have a way of creating this explosive horror in a very, very slow, deep rooted psychological way, which I inevitably went on to see in the end credits and stuff that it's a James Wan film, which he's known for doing this behavior. And he does it well, but um, we get to kind of in the previews we got to compare what we might be seeing to other things that we kind of have seen and want to see at the same time as well. Obsession is a constantly talked about film right now in the moment. It's actually in theaters right now as well, but apparently it's taking everybody's taking all these filmmakers' steam. Because it with these types of films, it is not a lot of money to make for them, and then they are just like sweeping the cinemas. Like everyone's going to see them for multiple weeks, and not really a way to. If you have a movie that's coming out during the same time as one of these films is out, then you're pretty much dead in the water. They were talking about this M. Night Shyamalan film that had basically flopped because the Obsession was taking all of its money. But yeah, these back rooms has been done really well. They are pleased with its execution, as they should be, because in the theaters while you're watching it, it's very exciting. It's very thrilling. It's very horrific. It's very interesting. Um, they do have a way of creating this kind of like masterpiece. There's just not many films that by the end of the film that everything, all of the plot points have been settled and everything is solved, but there are just still so many like aching questions. I just remember by the end of the film just being like so silent. Like you're going through the resolution, like things have ended, but man, is there just so many like this well, I want to say like innate or deep, like there are just there's this feeling that it's not over and that we only scratch the surface, and it just feels so much bigger than what we know. um the only thing I really have to cross compare some of this even to that people would know from recent media is this Stranger Things, and that they're upside down, and that how vast it is. But I mean, there are just so many alternatives to what we've just seen play out. I mean, this is one tale, but that they've created something so big that obviously many tales can exist in this dimension, space, and horror. But kind of like in Smile or in the Nightmare on Elm Street, it isn't necessarily centric on one person. This is a horror that plagued the town or community, or in this situation, it feels like it's a horror that plagues the world, maybe. But even though they haven't attached it to everyone, it's like it is as if this world could exist for any person as well, or that all people are central to it. It's a weird thing, a weird dynamic, but yeah, by the end of it, the tale tales are fulfilled. However, it is only the beginning. But yeah, watch it. Tell me what you think. Let's talk about it.